guys. Welcome back to the CXOJ podcast, episode 6. Okay, you ready, Chloe?
Let's go. Excuse me, let me clear my throat.
Mic check 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
But yeah, guys, thank you for continuing to rock with us. We appreciate it, and we have a very fun episode today. So, Chloe, tell the people what inspired you for this show.
So, y'all, we have a TikTok, CXOJ on TikTok, and when I'm doing my 30-day challenge on the treadmill, I'm doing the 12-3-30 challenge. That's when you walk for 30 minutes on a 12 incline at a speed of 3. So it gets kind of boring. So usually I look at videos. Long story short, Josh sent me like 80 TikTok messages and I never saw them because I just didn't understand TikTok. Millennial stuff. So long story short, I went through his TikToks while I was on the treadmill and I came across one that he sent and it was called the 10 things. I think it was like something along the lines of the 10 things you wish you would have learned 10 years ago.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, this would be cool to talk about and share it with you guys to see your thoughts on it and see if you've implemented any of these. Number 1. Number 2, if you agree with them. And number 3, is there anything that you want to implement after you watch this podcast / YouTube video?
Absolutely. With that being said, wonderful introduction, Chloe. Here we go.
Here we go. Here's number 1. Are you going to play the whole thing? Wait,
10 things that would have changed my life forever if I heard them 10 years ago. This went viral on Twitter, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Number 1, stop buying and financing stupid things. Everyone thinks that just because you can afford the monthly payment means you can actually afford it. Most of the time, you can't. Stop doing it.
We're going to go one by one.
Okay, I like that, this format. So I think that stupid is relative, right? So it's like, I feel like in order for you to spend your money or thousands of dollars on stuff, you should think about it first and see why you're doing it, right? So, I mean, I also feel like you only live once. So while you're here, you might as well spend your money. You can't take it with you. What are your thoughts?
Okay, that's very interesting. I understand why you would say that. However, with a looming recession, I feel like that is wonderful advice to heed. Now, I'll be honest, I certainly have engaged in frivolous spending for sure. Like I feel like we all have just to splurge, and as psychology tells us, we feel better when we spend money, especially the more money we spend, more of a dopamine release we get, right? So some people can get addicted to that feeling. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not just with, things like spending money or shopping, but it's also alcoholism, which this list will get into as well further down the line, which I think is very, very apt too. So I do think it's more important to not just save the money, but more accurately invest the money and then save the money you earn from investing.
All right. So I feel this is strictly feelings. You got to know yourself, right? Like, are you buying stuff because it makes you look important? Or are you buying stuff because you actually like it? Or are you buying stuff because you just you just like to spend money, or you just like to shop? Like me personally, I love to shop. Like I love to shop. It just gives me a good feeling. Like I like to be creative when I'm shopping. I like to be in the store. I like to feel the material, and it's a therapeutic process for me.
But also to be resourceful because you love going for deals. Yeah.
So with that being said, because I love to shop, and I get a dopamine hit from just shopping, I am an extreme couponer. Like, I was like, oh my God, I could still shop and make money or not spend as much money. And it actually gives me like more of an adrenaline rush. So that's how I was able to, I guess, do both, right? Be fiscally responsible and still, fix that urge for shopping. Feed that urge for shopping. Josh knows we have a stockpile upstairs, a stock room of stuff. Like I haven't bought toilet paper since we moved in here, probably maybe in like 2 years almost. I did like one big haul and we're finally just running out. So I will be couponing soon for that. Or toothpaste. We probably won't have to buy toothpaste for another 3 to 5 years. But yeah, like or dish detergent or laundry detergent, like stuff that you would spend a whole bunch of money on. And to be honest, I'm a little bougie with the products that we have now, because once you get Parasil, like you just don't go back. But I don't pay Parasil prices.
Chloe Coops.
Chloe Coops. And Josh, like, I'm trying to, rub it off on him. I have a personal, what's the word? Goal, like a personal challenge every time I go shopping. It's like, how much can I get this off? And I'm not a type of person who bargains. Like, I don't go into there bargaining. I think that's just not my thing. But I will find a deal. Like, I will find anything on sale. I'm not paying full price because they mark up. Like, y'all know about the industry. Like, it's like 1,000% markup on some stuff.
Of course, Chloe. It's a business. Margins, not a charity.
Margins, exactly. So, you gotta get in when you can fit in. You feel me? So back to what he was saying. Yes, I think that you should, you might want to not spend money on things that don't really matter, and only spend money on things that matter to you. Like, don't do it just because you trying to keep up with the Joneses, or it makes you look a certain way and you're struggling to pay for that thing. That is a no-no, because it just leads to more stress. Like, if you don't have any money, sis, don't go shopping. If you don't have any money, honey, don't go shopping.
That's a great point, Chloe. And I'm just going to add to that. The same way that spending money and shopping feels great, watching money evaporate does not. That makes you feel the opposite. And the more you do these monthly payments, because that's a marketing strategy, right? Mm-hmm. It's the goal is to get the prospect, which is you, the consumer, right, to be more likely to say yes in the purchase. And let's be honest, we all know that trick.
Yes.
And it works.
Yes.
Especially if the value is high enough to create that desire for you to want it, right? Yes. And again, we're not in any way trying to judge people for spending money, especially during the holidays.
Spend your money. If you have it, spend it. But if you don't have it.
But to the TikTok's point, if you knew that 10 years ago, so 10 years ago, most of us are going to be in college or fresh out of college stage. So if you had that knowledge then, or had that understanding of spending and let's say monthly marketing campaigns for subscriptions type of thing, either annual or monthly, which became very popular the past 10 years. So I think it's a great point. Then you would view it differently. So something like Disney Plus, I opted to pay annually. Mm-hmm. And it will go up annually, similar to Amazon Prime. Shout out to the Prime members, right? But at the same time, you understand how much is worth when you do it annually, because that's the max it can cost you is annual. Mm-hmm. But when you have it coming out every month, then you have to budget that. So and perhaps it might be better for your budget. Mm-hmm. It was for me, for when I switched to do things annually, things like StreamYard annual. Because
you get discounts. Like, back to the discounts, like what Josh is saying, there are times in the year where there's promotions that are going to happen. So it's like, I jump on promotions when they happen. Like, for instance, I got our Sam's Club membership for $10. It's the same membership that you would pay maybe $40 for, but we only spent $10 because I bought it when you were supposed to. So it's like, think about ways that you can still get the things you want to get, but save money in the same time. And then another site, Rakuten. I'm going to leave my Rakuten link in the bottom because, y'all.
Affiliate Chloe.
Listen, when we first moved in here, Rakuten basically paid for our electricity for like a good, I would say 6 months, maybe 8 months.
In cash, right?
In cash. So Rakuten, what happens is you upload it to your browser.
It's a Japanese company, by the way.
Yes, you upload it to your browser, and whatever, they have like promotions going on for like Target, Walmart. Sometimes it's 10% cash back. Sometimes it's 20% cash back. at Adidas or Nike or wherever. So whenever you're shopping, you just click the little Rakuten button and then they give you percentage of your spending back. In addition to that, y'all could use your credit card points. Use your credit card points wisely. So I wish if I were to add something to this 10 years ago list, it would be use a credit card instead of a debit card. Because I would have gotten so many rewards and I wasn't up on game. I don't know how I wasn't up on game, but I wasn't. And when you use your credit card, basically use it like a debit card. So that's what I've been doing. I keep a zero balance on my credit card. Whatever I don't have on my debit card, I'm not spending. But what I do is, and now it's a lot easier in 2022 because you could just pay your bill immediately. So what I do is I'll swipe my credit card and then immediately pay off the bill. $20, $15. Like we go out to I don't know, if I go to like Walgreens and get stuff, I pay it on my credit card and then I get points back and then I'm paying it off right away. So it's basically free money both ways. Like you got to get your money both ways. So that's my little tidbit. If y'all want to know more coupon, Chloe Coops tips, let me know. I got y'all.
Or just follow the TikTok. Will be a link in the description.
Listen, because Josh ain't know that he knew. He was like, oh, it's like that. We getting checks in the mail? We getting checks for free? We getting free money?
I mean, I wasn't too bothered with it because the cash wasn't going to Josh anyway.
Yes,
right?
One goes to you. And I'd be like, cash that check and give me the money, please.
But yes, I think it is important to do, coupons when you can, or get a deal where you can. Even my PS5, right? I got it directly from PS Direct. So if you're looking for a PS5 during the holiday, check out PS Direct, because if you're a PS Plus member, as I am, you get an advantage of you don't even have to wait in the queue. You don't have to wait in the line. As soon as it's available, you put it in your shopping cart. And you're good to go. You get the priority. Similar, just like if you're boarding a plane, right? You get priority boarding. You get priority purchasing and checking out. So I think that's great as well. And you get a discount.
Yep.
Because everywhere else is selling it for at least $200 over, so they can make their margin. So think about that.
I'm proud of you for that purchase. He did that on his own. I was like, yes.
Yes,
okay.
Because I had never used coupons or discounts at all before Chloe came into the picture.
Not my level. Oh, also another tip, and this is the last tip I'm gonna give y'all because y'all gonna have to subscribe for more tips. You feel me? If you are a teacher, a student, a military veteran.
Thank you for all your service veterans out there.
Yes, thank you for all your service teachers too.
Facts.
If you are a senior, if you are I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh, a fireman or first responder or a nurse or a doctor.
Or a AAA member.
Or a AAA member, okay? There are so many discounts. So many discounts. Like my gym membership is $29 a month and I belong to all the gyms. If you want to know how I do it, let me, hit that like button and I got y'all. I'll put the link when we get to 50 likes.
Facts.
Okay, so that's all I have to say about that one.
All right, number one, and now we have number two.
Number two is that life is not fair, and stop trying to make it fair. I've seen countless people and heard countless people say, oh, that's not fair. Yeah, it's not supposed to be. We're all dealt a different hand, and it's what you do with it that actually matters. Number three.
That resonates with me because when I was growing up, that was like one of the sayings in my household. I'd be like, I want this. And he'd be like, my dad would be like, life is not fair. So I learned to say, I would never say, oh, that's not fair. Because he would always respond, life is not fair. And then I was like, all right, facts. He's spitting facts. So I don't know, like my household was very candid. Like they didn't really sugarcoat things for me. So I learned that lesson very early in life.
I could definitely see that. Being young Chloe, I could definitely see that. But similarly, Josh was the same way. I was a very literal child. So that's one of the ways how I learned sarcasm, was being very literal. But in terms of things being equally fair, like here I am at like between, let's say, ages 7 and 10, and just measuring things like, wait a minute, that's not fair. Why is it that way? And my dad would say the same thing. Life isn't fair. My mom would say the same thing. Life isn't fair. My relatives would pass on the same wisdom. Life isn't fair, especially for certain people of a certain persuasion. So you had to learn that reality incredibly quickly, right? And okay, you learn that, but then I'm looking like, wait a minute, that isn't fair either. Regardless of, let's say, race and ethnicity, beyond that, that isn't fair either. Why is it that way? And I felt like with the knowledge I have now, so 10 years ago, you don't really understand why the have and have-nots have and have not. So it has a lot to do with business and let's say the benefits of owning a business, especially tax-wise in our country, right? It benefits those who have a business. You get a lot of tax breaks and a lot of tax benefits, which I think is very important, especially in our community, right? And those are the type of things that I think would be best, I guess, shared with the younger generation, so they grow up having this concept in their mind. So they're not behind the 8 ball, but they're understanding how the 8 ball is created, type of thing, to use the metaphor.
See, I agree. And I think that life isn't fair can be interpreted 2 different ways. I think that the key to this phrase is being optimistic, right? So not saying, oh, life isn't fair, everything bad happens to me. It's a mindset. Like, if you know life's not fair, you know you got to be resourceful. You have to make sure that you have the upper hand. And you just accept the rule. Like, if you're in denial about the fact that life isn't fair, you might find yourself coveting somebody else's things. Oh, they got a brand new Louis Vuitton bag. And for their sweet 16, they got the G-Wagon. Okay, what does that have to do with you? Like, you can do things too. But when you look at things like, oh, life isn't fair, boo-hoo, I'm going to cry about it. That is a way that you're going to set yourself back, number 1. And number 2, everybody's not going to make it. I want to play that after we done this list. I actually found a quote today from 50 Cent. It is a harsh reality. Everybody's not going to make it. And what I find is the people who don't make it, in my experience, it's just my personal observations, and they mirror 50 Cent, are people who have that mindset, the woe is me mindset.
The victim mentality.
The victim mentality. And it's like, if you choose to be a victim, that's a choice. Just like if you choose to not be a victim, if you choose to be empowered, that's a choice. And nobody can make that choice for you. So life is not fair. It is what it is. Even people who you think might have everything that you want, they might have a perspective that life's not fair based off of, things that they want and things they aspire for. So it's like, focus on your own self, right? And when you see people with things that you want, life isn't fair, but there are enough tools out here to level the playing field. If you want it, if you're resourceful enough, and if you have that optimistic mindset and that determination and that grit, you can do it.
Absolutely. And I agree 1,000%, especially what you were alluding to in the beginning, which is personal responsibility and accountability, because you have control over specific elements of your life. So your goal, as we all know, is to control what you can control, and not worry about or get emotional about and get triggered by things you can't control. Because is this causing stress on your life internally that you're generating? And unfortunately, sometimes things like truth can trigger you if you're not in touch with that reality that life literally isn't fair,
It's not fair
for anyone. However, you get to observe what you can control. And then when you can control these factors in your life, which are great, things like going to the gym, eating correctly, starting a business, growing a business, now your life is, now you're in the perspective of those who are in the haves as opposed to have-nots. And then you don't have that perspective that life isn't fair, because what did you just do? You just earned to have what the have-nots do not. You earn that in that moment. So sometimes we get boggled down by the rhetoric in the media where people try to demonize people who earn money, earn a lot of money. But if you come from nothing and then you out of your own talent and knowledge and sweat equity and staying up to however long it takes to get it done, and then from the fruits of that labor, you become a millionaire, does that really make you evil? No. So we have to dispel a lot of things in our minds about creating money, especially in our community, because in the media, they support our victim mindset. So now it's a perpetual cycle where you're just in the victim mindset, and then you're not empowered internally to create your own desired reality.
And then also, like, money is a big part about it, but it's not the end all be all. Like, money is just a tool to do what you really want to do. Like, if you're a person and you're working a 9 to 5 that works for you, enjoy it. Do the best you can. If it's not serving you, leave the company. Go somewhere else. Everyone's not destined to be a business owner. Some people have to work. Business owners need staff, right? And if you are a person that's in the staff, make the situation work for you. If you're giving your life away to some place and they're not appreciating you, peace out. You don't owe them anything, and they certainly don't owe you anything. Because if you died, guess what? They're going to replace you and pay that person half of what you're earning.
Within the month.
Within a week, probably. There's somebody already at the job who's going to take your position.
Hold on. Because I think this list is getting to that.
Oh, okay. So I'll pause on that thought, but I'm just saying that you don't need to look at people and be like, oh, life's not fair, because that's a victim mentality. Or you can perceive that as a victim mentality. And that's your choice. If you want to do that and that's easier for you, that's cool. But it doesn't help you grow. It doesn't help you get what that person has. So if you find yourself doing that, take a step back, pause for a second, understand those emotions, reevaluate why you feel those emotions, and then create an action plan so that you can do something about it.
Absolutely. And just the final thought before we move to number 3, no one is saying that you haven't been oppressed or your ancestors haven't been oppressed. However, when you identify with that victim mindset, then you won't take control of what you can control and get yourself out of that situation despite the oppression. So I was an athlete growing up. So one of my idols, one of my mentors was Jackie Robinson, right? Played for the Brooklyn Dodgers back when they were Brooklyn. One of the first African-American baseball players in Major League Baseball. And back then, if you were African-American on a baseball team in America, you had to be 3 times better than their best player just to get a little bit of game time. That doesn't mean you were starting, but eventually Jackie was so good. He was so dynamic. He brought so much to the game, so much value, obviously, right? Then they had to start him. They had to play him because they were winning. Why not? If you have the best player, of course you play him. And when you burst open doors, it's because you succeed despite the oppression. So selfishly, my wish and goal for our community is to detach from the victim mindset. No one's denying that happened to us, but
it's happening to us.
Is happening, right? Has happened. No, that's a great point, Chloe. Is happening, has happened, and will happen in the future. Great point. Thank you. You can succeed despite it anyway. That's all I'm gonna say. And there we go. Now on to number 3. Are you ready, Chloe?
Sure.
Chloe's ready.
Number 3 is to exercise and take care of your body. There is nothing more disrespectful to your significant other, to your family, and to yourself than not taking care of your body. You must do it, and if you don't, you're selfish.
I agree with that 1,000%, because just imagine that, and again, this never happened to me, but I'm just being empathetic here. Imagine that you had someone who had heart issues, right? And the doctor had already told them, and you were aware that if you eat things like pork or beef, that might cause a heart attack. And then after the doctor's appointment, where you hear this news, you go to Five Guys and get a bacon double cheeseburger. Then it's kind of like, hold up, what are we doing here?
I think that this becomes more evident when people have children, which is kind of interesting because a lot of times after people have children, they kind of let themselves go, stereotypically. So the fact that he's saying like for your spouse, I think it's more for yourself and for your spouse and for your family, because you want to be here as long as you can, if you can help it. Like, we don't have control over when it's our time necessarily, but we do have control over how we take care of our bodies. And it's not fair. Life's not fair, but it's not conducive for your children to have to take care of you because of the poor life decisions that you've made. Now, if you could circumvent that by being aware, right, of what can happen to you if you choose to use drugs, if you choose to eat unhealthily, if you choose to refuse to work out or keep your body at a standard that is up to par with your health, if you choose to put things in your body that aren't healthy, you're not the only person that is going to reap those negative benefits. I mean, negative effects. Your children will. Or your parents or your siblings, somebody who has to take care of you. Like, I'll just say there's people that I love and care about that have chosen to do things to their body, and that's their choice, right? But then if something goes down, then they looking for help. It's like, how can you choose to do something to your body and then turn around and need help? Not to say don't help them, because everybody, I think, deserves that love, that support, that respect. But as a person who isn't in control of their body, you should, and I'm going to say this again, you should be considerate of other people. Now, is everyone going to be considerate? No. And the fact of the matter is, if you're not taking care of your body, you have to deal with the consequences. Because
well, not just you, right?
No, sometimes it's you, right? Fortunately, people have families and they have support systems, but sometimes that's not a thing. Sometimes you have to suffer alone. And you have to think about your future, right? So 10 years ago, when we're young and we partying and we having fun and stuff, sometimes you don't realize the consequences of your action until down the road. Because when you're young, who cares? Like, you like, I'm here for a short, well, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, you know? Like, I'm here to have fun. Forget about that. I'm not going to lose a lung to smoking a cigarette, right? I'm not going to have heart issues from, illicit drug use. I'm not going to develop cancer or whatever because of things I'm doing in the moment because they're fun. Or even being obese, eating too much. Like, when I was in my early 20s, I was just having it. Like, I had gained an unhealthy amount of weight. I did. And I'll show y'all the pictures. And when I look back at those pictures, I was like, wow, I was depressed or I was something, because I was having either too much fun or I wasn't happy. Like, it's either one of those two things. I'm still working through that to figure out what it was so it doesn't happen again. But the fact of the matter is, we are all you have to be accountable for your actions, and you have to think about what the future you will want. Like, nobody wants to be in a hospital bed in their 30s or 20s. Nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. Everyone thinks, oh, that's just going to happen to that person. I saw this really disturbing video when I was scrolling through Instagram, and it was like some woman who had like hair on her nose, and it was like a scalp removal surgery or something because she sniffed too much coke in her life. So she like ruptured all the inside of her nose, and she had to have like a scalp replacement, and it was like hair growing on her face. Do you think she was thinking about that when she was out having fun sniffing 8 balls of coke? No. So just be mindful and be mindful of your future self, and be mindful of your future family and people who care about you. Don't be so selfish. And addiction is a disease. I do agree with that. So just don't even try it. Like, just don't. Say no to drugs, y'all.
And to add on to that, it's not just about the future, but it's also about your present, because that is one of the things that you can control if you choose to do. And we hope you do. We wish you do. Your loved ones wish you do and hope you do, type of thing. So it is something that we understand. Like, again, we all have coping mechanisms. I know when I feel in that, let's say that depression space, I like feel good foods. You know, I'm human. It happens, right? But at the same time, long-term exposure to that, or because the food tastes so good, it is addictive, then it can become a habit of eating it more frequently.
Yep.
So you just have to be aware of that. That's one of the main reasons why I do the alkaline vegan every year, the first 40 days of the year. However, speaking with my nutritionist, Dr. Bach, shout out to Dr. Bach, I'm not going to do it this year. I'm going to do pescatarian this year because I was thinking micro instead of the macro. And Dr. Bach was thinking macro about my health, because when I do my 40 days of alkaline vegan, it is a mental challenge to go cold turkey and make it to the end of it. However, my body will make up for that time period later in the year, or let's say the rest of the year. So there's a lack of balance. So to have some balance now, because that's the goal in the present is to create the balance. Because when we have that balance, that is sustainable on a trajectory long term, right? Into old age. So our goal in our youth, right, is to create lifelong habits, right? Shout out to New Life Fitness, lifelong habits, and make that a sustainable way for you to live in your lifestyle for your optimal health, but for you also to enjoy some things, because there's a reason why we have essentially, I would say, 3 to 4 feasts per year during the holidays. So I would look at those moments as the moments to just go ham, pun absolutely intended, right?
Honey ham, go honey ham.
But to have that, let's say, weekly or even monthly without moderate exercise, even with exercise, that may not be the best thing to do. So it might be better to have a balance where you can enjoy your food experience like a foodie like Chloe, right? You can enjoy the experience of the food, but also be satiated and full, while at the same time giving, nutrition and health to your body, your temple. And when you have that balance, that's just one thing you get to tick off the box. Like, oh, I don't need to think about this at all. Food is handled. Now I can focus on other things.
And I'm going to just leave with this last quote. My dad always said this. Well, he said 2 quotes. He said, "A minute on your lips is 10 months on your hips." That was one quote. And the other quote was, it's so funny because he always say that. And then the other quote was, "Everything in moderation, nothing in excess." So you can enjoy things in moderation, but not in excess. Like Josh was saying, just do a little bit. Like if you're going to drink, just drink a little bit. Like you don't have to go ham every time you drink, because then that could build a habit. And just be aware. Just be aware of your habits when you're going through things. Like, is this a coping mechanism, or am I doing this because I like it? Am I doing this to survive, or am I doing this because I enjoy it?
Facts.
That's a good question or filter to ask yourself. Like, am I eating this food because I like the way it tastes, or am I eating this food because my body is telling me I need to eat this right now? Bam. That's it. That's all I got for y'all.
Wait, that's it? That's it, Chloe?
That's it. Drop a bomb. Drop a bomb.
No bombs yet. No bombs,
No bombs
yet.
yet. All right. I'll take a horn.
Number 4 is that your employer does not care about you. You must be selfish with your living and how you make your income. If you aren't, you're going to be taken advantage of. It's just a simple fact.
Can I speak on this first? Sure. So, your job does not care about you. They don't. If your name is not on the side of that building, they don't care about you. They might care about you a little bit, but they don't care about you as much as you care about you. Number 1. So number 2, like, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, like, I personally work for a company that was just very bad for me. It was good for me.
Oh, worked as in past tense.
Worked, past tense. I don't work there anymore. It was just not good for my mental health. And it was weird because the way that the company was structured, I feel like they did that on purpose. But it made me a stronger person, but it also created damage, like PTSD. Yeah, I'm undiagnosed, y'all. I don't know, but it took a long time for me to get over the trauma from that working environment, to be honest. Very strict, very what's the word? They deprived us of food, they deprived us of sleep.
Rest,
no food, no rest. We had to be on our feet 10 hours a day. Mentally fatigued, physically fatigued. It kind of sounded like the Army. It sounded like I went to, like, if y'all thought about just me talking about this, y'all probably would think I was in, like, the Marines or something. But it was structured like that. Did it make me stronger as a person? I think it made me grow and gave me experience to know that my life is not worth a fictitious goal or a fictitious vision that I didn't create myself, right? So it's like, if you're going to put that much effort in that blood and that sweat and them tears, like real live tears, like when I was working at this place, I saw everybody I worked with cry at least once a week, sometimes once a month. It was a very stressful environment, like boot camp. Does that bring you closer to people? I don't know. I think that if I talked to someone who worked there, they probably would have had similar experiences. Do I appreciate that I put myself through that? Yes. But I left. I had to go. It was not healthy for my mental health at all. So if you find yourself in a situation like I was in, maybe you should reevaluate. Are you there because you're attracted to toxicity? Are you there because you like abuse? Are you there because you think that you're serving a purpose, but you're sacrificing yourself in the moment? Like, these are things that you should reevaluate about yourself and your job, because where we spend our time at majority of the time is at work. And if you're in a toxic situation at work, which a lot of us find ourselves in, it can be demeaning. It can hurt your self-esteem. It can hurt your health, which we just talked about. Mental health is important. It can hurt your physical health. Like, a lot of people that I worked with had physical ailments from that, working that position. And it was like, this is not the way to do things. Like, my personal opinion is a place that you go to work at should be a place similar to the place I work now, where you're nurtured and you're built to reach your full potential, which is something that I appreciate because I worked at an establishment like that I understand what it is that I need and where I thrive at. And it makes me appreciate the position I'm in now more than ever, honestly. Like, I enjoy going to work. I look forward going to work. I look forward to learning something every day. And I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, you should be a place where you're appreciated. And how your job shows you appreciation is they give you the means and the opportunity to grow to your full potential. So if you're in a space like that, then, in my opinion, your job does care about you, or your colleagues care about you. And guess what? The moment that they stop providing you that space to grow and that space to thrive, then you leave and find somewhere else that you can do that. Because life is just, in my humble opinion, and if I would have told my younger self this, it's about finding where you fit and finding where you can grow. And being a place that doesn't stifle your creativity, doesn't stifle your growth, doesn't put you down, doesn't shame you, doesn't hurt you. You know, look at it kind of like a relationship, right? A partner. You're there for the paycheck and to grow, and they look at you as an asset to help them get to their bottom line and, you know, a profit, hopefully. So it's a quid pro quo relationship. And if you don't know what that means, it is a give and receive. It is a reciprocal relationship. But the moment it becomes a relationship where it's not reciprocal, man, chuck up them deuces and peace out. Like, we got the internet now, y'all. We got the whole internet. You could find a job in 2.5 seconds. You can learn a skill. Shout out to LinkedIn Learning. Shout out to YouTube University, okay? And Google. Find a job that you like. Find a job making money. Upskill and peace out. Because it's not worth your time. I missed a relative's funeral at that place. And in hindsight, should I have done that? No, but they made me feel like if you miss a day of work, you're going to get fired. Like, it should never be a looming air of you're getting fired over your head. Like, that is just not healthy at all. At all. It's not. And if you're in a position like that, I encourage you to get what you need to get, and you need to peace out, because that's stress. You got a bomb? Can I drop a bomb? No stress. Drop the mic and walk out the door and say peace, y'all. And that's my soliloquy.
Okay, Sammy Sosa. Okay. And I can see why you say that. But at the same time, I will have to bring it from the other perspective. Let's bring it from the business owner or the entrepreneur's perspective, because you might be an aspiring entrepreneur, and this might be your reality as well. Because as soon as you own a business, now that dynamic flips, right? So now it's your responsibility to create a healthy working environment. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, at the end of the day, business boils down to stat sheets, balance sheets, and profits. Because no matter how cool an employee is around the office, if he's costing you money and thus losing you money and or not producing and or possibly doing both, then unfortunately you're gonna have to make that difficult logical decision to let that employee go. But that doesn't mean that you don't care about the employee. You care about the business more as the business owner, because at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to all the rest of your employees so they can get their paycheck and their insurance. So if you run a business based upon emotions and feelings, eventually you will be out of business and in bankruptcy, and then no one's getting paid. So I understand what you're saying. So if you require that type of environment where there's a less likely chance for you to get fired because of that pressure, it might behoove you for your peace, your own inner peace, to get a government job, because it's exceptionally hard to get fired from a government job unless you're like doing something egregious. And you have a consistent growth in salary that goes with inflation. So that might be something that you might be interested in. That might be less stressful for you. But if you're going to be in corporate America, when specifically, again, it's a business, it's not a charity, right? Even nonprofits, they still pay their staff pretty well, depending on the nonprofit, right? But ultimately, is there to make money. Even if it's a nonprofit, you still got to make money for the nonprofit cause that you're supporting and facilitating, and you still have to pay your employees at the end of the day. So to close point, go to a place that values your value, your unique value, pays you your worth, and gives you your inner and external piece, because I don't think it's worth it to have, a toxic work environment just for money. Personally, that's just me.
Or an abusive environment. You gotta run. And a lot of people, I feel like they get complacent and they just deal with it. And it's like, oh, I'll just complain about it. Then I'll go home and eat a whole bunch of food. I'll drink a whole bunch of alcohol.
Coping mechanisms.
And then I'll just get back up and go to work on Monday. And then what? You just complain. It's just a cycle. And the next thing you know is 2010.
Exactly. And you're halfway to being a lifer.
And then it's like, dang, I put in 30 years here and I hated this place 15 years ago. Like, don't stay. And I feel like people do the same thing with relationships, which, I don't know. People stay for their own reasons.
And again, this is the reality with any business anywhere in the world. I'm not going to say that they don't care about you, right, individually. But just the logical reality, if we separate our emotions as human beings and look at it from a practical perspective, regardless how much you care about that person, even if let's say, unfortunately, someone at work passes away and it's a pivotal position, that position has to be replaced for business operations to continue at an optimal level. Unfortunately, right? So, well, not necessarily unfortunately, it's unfortunate that the person passed away, but as the business, even a nonprofit, even a government entity, you have to fill that position for the business to operate.
You know what the first thing they told us in business school? I remember this first day of my, organizational behavior class. When I was studying my undergrad in business administration, I remember my professor said, and wrote it big on the board, he said, businesses don't have any emotions. They are treated as an individual in regards to their rights. And, they are an individual, but they don't have any feelings or emotions. It's not about that. They are a money-making machine, a person.
It is a system, absolutely, because a business is only going to succeed and grow with inflation if it's run as an optimized system. So if you're going to a place that you see as dysfunctional, eventually it will catch up to them, right? So it makes more sense for me, in my opinion, to go to a place where that values you, that, as Chloe alluded to, invest in your success. So a business that's sending you to training, giving you a great benefits package, they're investing in your well-being so you perform better, because all studies confirm that when you have a happy employee, productivity increases.
Is up.
So that's why you see in Silicon Valley places like that have a lot of buku bucks, let's say, and they're able to reward their employees with a lot of fringe benefits, either going to sporting events, concerts, having napping facilities at work. As long as you get the work done and you meet your quota and you meet your own personal projects, they're willing to, give you some of those fringe benefits that a lot of other corporations can't afford. So to me, it just makes more sense to go a place where you're valued, where you can increase your value, especially if they're investing in you to increase your value for your skill set, for the organization, because then you become more valuable to them, and then they will hopefully compensate you for that value. And if not, you can always leverage that and go to someplace else that will value you, perhaps a competitor. Because remember, at the end of the day, businesses do not have emotions, even though legally they're entities that are similar to a person. The business itself, the system, does not have emotion. So it makes more sense if you're making a business decision. That's why we say it's a business decision. It has nothing to do with emotion. It has everything to do with business logic and thus profits. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's great. I'm saying that's the way it is, and things will never change. Shout out to Tupac.
Well, I think also, just to wrap this up a little bit, it's a tool. Like, your business is not your life. Your life is your life. Like, people sacrifice their lives for jobs and then they get laid off because they didn't understand what it was. It's a tool. And the minute your tool is not sharp enough to cut, and say it's a knife, it's not sharp enough to cut, through the steak anymore, what do? You go get a new knife. You don't just keep using that knife and complaining about it. Like, oh, it's not sharp enough. Like, bro, the knife wasn't sharp 10 years ago and you still trying to cut your steak with it? Like, it's a tool. And they don't care about you. They don't, even if they appear to care. And when the minute it doesn't serve you, you peace out and go somewhere else. And and then you grow there for the amount of time you need to, and then you can go somewhere else. It's very simple. And I feel like our parents' generation was different because companies treated them better. Like, they had pensions, it was like a whole different situation. So they felt kind of compelled to stay at places for 30 plus years.
Well, they were more trustworthy back then. Appearance wise, this is before
the internet.
or before, things like scandals or things like Enron or Ponzi schemes where pensions evaporate.
Yeah.
So it's not really a fault sometimes of the organization. They just may invest with an unscrupulous character unbeknownst to them.
I mean, it's their fault. You could blame them.
Oh, they're definitely liable, but
you could definitely blame them.
Regardless, you're still not getting your money back.
You're not, and that's the problem. So it's like,
so have some irons in the fire. We're gonna talk a lot about entrepreneurship, especially in our community. Our community benefits so much with entrepreneurs, just like Tulsa. I believe in the Tulsa Wakanda model, where you have tons of innovative things and creating a lot of value internally in our community, and it does wonders. So definitely support your entrepreneurs, especially during the holiday season.
Yes, sir.
All right, next one
is that an hourly wage is extremely inefficient. In 2022, we have these devices in our hands that can do anything and tell us anything. If you're not using it as an income source, you're falling behind.
We have so much information at our fingertips right now. So it's like, there's going to become a point where I feel like, even though there's a lot of information, too many people are going to be taking advantage of it. And then it won't be like a learning curve anymore. So, we kind of like the first generation of that. So I think you should take full advantage of it. And another thing is, like, there may become a point where YouTube is just too oversaturated with things. So, open up your phone, figure it out before we're on to the next thing.
That's definitely a fair assessment. I'm just going to water bear here. If you know, you know. And yes, it is the age of information and facts and logic. Unfortunately, it's being combative with, let's say, emotion that is void of logic. So when you have those combative forces, it causes a lot of toxicity, as we see in current times, unfortunately. However, as we talked about before, we have control of our mentality. So that's what I would say about this one.
Okay, I agree.
I'm going to like number 6, and I don't care. Alcohol has no benefit whatsoever, and anyone arguing that it does is just coping. It's a simple fact. This is one I talk about all the time on YouTube.
I agree. I mean, alcohol is fun. It's just like chewing bubblegum doesn't have any positive effects, except for it might make your breath smell good for a very short amount of time, but whatever. I mean, like, everything on this earth is not just for us to do better. I don't know. Some things are just for fun. Like, sometimes you want to turn your brain off. Sometimes you want to go out and have fun and just chill. Like, and what I can say to this is everything in moderation, nothing in excess. So when you find yourself becoming codependent on a substance, or not codependent, dependent on a substance, that's when it goes from a situation where it's cool to when it's not. But it is a waste of time. Like who's running around talking about drinking is not a waste of time. Maybe people who are wine connoisseurs, because they get paid to do that, or people who are
whiskey connoisseurs.
Speaking
vodka connoisseurs.
Speaking of whiskey, as we have our bar behind us. Shout out to this black-owned company over here.
The dearest Uncle Nearest.
Uncle Nearest. 1884 white label.
And also has a premium version as well. We have this is the one we enjoy the most in terms of taste. Mm-hmm. But there's a premium one which is strong. Those you probably want to save for special occasions, kind of like a Macallan, but in a different sense, right? But and they just came out with a rye as well. Shout out to the Brown Juice Barbershop.
So I'm gonna read the back really quick. It says, Uncle Nearest 1884 small batch whiskey. Uncle Nearest 1884 continues the remarkable legacy of Tennessee distilling legend Nearest Green, the first known African American by his. I'm sorry, skipped a line. The first known African American master distiller.
Yes, sir.
Each small batch is curated by his great great granddaughter. Whiskey Magazine's 2021 Master Blender of the Year.
Shaboy!
Victoria Edie Butler, utilizing the process of maple charcoal mellowing that Nearest helped perfect over 160 years ago. 1884 delivers a whiskey that is as smooth as it is complex. So I would say that there is no benefit to this besides it tastes good. It's kind of like French fries, right? There's no health benefits to it, but it's a benefit to your tongue.
Absolutely. That is definitely accurate. As human beings who have been raised in this era where we are very much familiar with consumerism. We have our own habit of consumerism, whether that be shopping, as we talked about before, or what your mindset is. If you have a negative mindset, your filter is negative, so you're consuming everything with a negative filter. And then number 3, then you have this is the very important one.
Okay.
You have the opportunity to create a reality. So if you only have negative thoughts, you're only going to create a negative reality. If you think about what you can do, what you have the confidence to do, what information, as Chloe was talking about, you have, because I know me, I get analysis paralysis all the time, right? So when you're confident enough to apply that information, you make it wisdom because you applied knowledge, right? So if you want to be wise, just apply that knowledge. And that's one of the things I'm always telling myself to take that leap. So I take action, because if not, I'll have analysis paralysis.
And back to what he was saying, alcohol is a waste of time, but it's also fun sometimes. So just don't overindulge.
Balance. All right. Next one.
You got to cheer for yourself more than your favorite sports team. There are so many people on this earth that devote their lives to teams and players that they've never even met and that don't even know they exist, and they don't even cheer for themselves or work on their own dreams. It's the reason why so many people are unhappy.
I think this is my favorite one on the list.
This is so true.
And it goes back to negative self-talk. Like some of us seem to be very negative within our own brains, and we talk ourselves out of things, but we'll cheer and be the biggest advocate for someone or something that doesn't even know who we are. It's kind of like wishing, insert celebrity's name here, a happy birthday, but you don't even say happy birthday to your friends or like people that you know. Like they don't even know you. So it's kind of like you need to, or not even say happy birthday to yourself. Like, how do you not celebrate your birthday, but you celebrating a celebrity's birthday who never seen you before? Like, that is something that you should think about. That is something that you should evaluate. Why is that? Because your biggest advocate should be yourself. Like, you're in your body. You're in control of your body. And so if you're not having that positive self-talk in your head that you're screaming at, the television, or listening to somebody's album with the same zest, or having a super crazy fan page, or purchasing all Jets gear or Philly gear or whatever, insert team here, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because all that energy that you're putting towards them, you're giving yourself negative energy. Like, because you're not even treating yourself right. You're not even telling yourself how great you are. You're not telling yourself that you could do it. But you cheering for a team that ain't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. That to me needs some evaluation. And I'm reading this book right now. It's actually called, I'm going to get the name for y'all. It's about social emotional learning. And the book is called, sorry, it's loading. It is called, why is it not in this thing? Heart and Mind, Teaching with the Heart and Mind. And it's by Lorea Martinez. Teaching with the Heart and Mind. So this is philosophy about social emotional learning and development. And one of the chapters that I'm on now is talking about self-talk, positive self-talk. And in one session that she did, she had everybody write on a piece of paper what they would tell themselves if a negative situation occurred. So she had them write it down on a Post-it. These are all adults. And then she said, okay, take your Post-it and pass it to the person left to you. And so many people were ashamed and they didn't want to pass that Post-it on to the next person because they were like, wow, I don't want them to feel this way about themselves the way I'm talking to myself. So for me, it's like that just is just a snippet of how we are just so judgmental about ourselves. And a lot of time it's reflected in how we're judgmental on other people, right? But you got to fix your internal. You have to think about, like, you need to tell yourself good things. You need to wake up every day. And that's why positive affirmations are so powerful and so important. And that energy that you give yourself can make or break you, can put you in a positive, optimistic mindset, or it could put you in a pessimistic, negative, scarcity mindset. And we want y'all to be in an optimistic mindset.
With abundance.
With abundance.
I agree completely. And I made it very simple for myself. I had to look at Josh in the mirror and be completely transparent with myself. And for me, anyone who is, let's say, promoted for monetary reasons for both the promoter and the receiver of the promotion. So let's say celebrities, right? Includes athletes, because that was the aspect about the sports team, right? That's a form of idol worship. It reminds me of the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. So when you have those elements in life, unfortunately, it has a reaction. Every action has a reaction. Mm-hmm. So as Chloe was alluding to, the reaction to this type of idolatry, if you will, because that's what it is in the modern times, right? If you have that element, then it causes internal comparison. You always have to compare yourself to everybody. Oh, if I'm not doing this, I'm a failure. And that's not necessarily true for your situation. However, how the world is presented, it can make other people feel like, damn, I'm really not doing anything. Or it can make you want to adopt that victim mindset, which again isn't serving you with all the potential and talent that you have. So mindset is incredibly important. And unless you're only looking at sports and athletics as entertainment, and that's all it is. Like, you can be upset about your favorite team losing for about 15 minutes, but at the end of the day, if you have a wonderful family, if you have, children growing, if you have awesome pets, awesome relatives, awesome life experiences, that's the true blessing. Mm-hmm. And you realize that when you get older, but in the moment you don't, especially if you're emotionally engaged at a very fanatic level, right? So as entertainment, sure, you love it in that moment, but beyond that, it doesn't define you.
And that's where the self-talk comes into play. And the story you tell yourself is the story that you will present to others. And is the story that you'll ultimately live. Like, I remember, so my goddaughter, Malaya, she stays over with us once a week. And yesterday, she had a whole conversation about good luck and bad luck. And she was like, I had good luck all last week. And this week, or she said she had bad luck all last week and good luck this week. I said, girl, ain't no such thing as good luck and bad luck. It's about how you're perceiving the information that you're receiving. I said, and if you adopt a positive mindset, if you adopt an optimistic mindset, you'll always have good luck because you'll always see the positive in even the bad things that you may be perceiving in the moment as bad. You will see the good in them. So then you'll always have good luck. You'll look back at something bad that happened and we'll label it bad, even though things are not bad or good. They're just things that happen. And it's how we interpret those things that happen. And we put labels on them, right? So I told her, I was like, yeah, yesterday, funny story. She was getting out the car and she dropped her Lunchable on the ground and all the cheese fell out and she was mad. She was big mad. Because I told her she couldn't eat in the car because she always be leaving stuff in my car. So she was big mad. She's like, oh, man, see, it's my bad luck. All the cheese came out. I said, it sounds like you got good luck to me because them little piece of things ain't roll out. I said, you still got some left in your Lunchable. If it was really bad luck, I said, it could have been worse. You could have had nothing left. So it's kind of like, you got to look at the glass. The glass is half empty and it is half full. But how you look at it will determine the outcomes that happen after that. Right? So then she looking, I had her kind of reframe her thinking. And that's my goal for her, which is something I did adopt 10 years ago. Have a positive mindset. Because it's like the yin and the yang. And every bit of bad, there's a little bit of good. And in every good, there's a little bit of bad. So it's like you got to just appreciate the good and look for that. Because if you're not looking for it, it's easy to fall into that victim mentality. It's easy to fall into, oh, bad luck. It's me. Everything happens to me. Oh, life isn't fair. Man, if you don't look at the good, you playing yourself. You got DJ Khaled, you played yourself?
I do, but that's being safe for 2023.
Listen, you played yourself. You need to say that as me. You just say my voice. You played yourself. But seriously, you played yourself. And so it takes practice. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. You got to practice that. You got to practice looking for the good, just like you practice looking for the bad your whole life. If you're one of those people who see the bad in everything, you practice that or somebody taught that to you. So you got to retrain your thinking. And I promise you, when you retrain your thinking, it's not as bad as you thought it was. Because there's always a little bit of good in everything that happens bad. The worst thing that could have happened, something came out of that. That is a positive. Drops mic. Drops a bomb.
This is sink or swim, baby. You're treading water. Step it up. What do you got?
Step it up. All right. Ready?
Invest early and invest often. If you're not investing or finding a way to grow whatever it is that you've accumulated, then you're falling behind to inflation and many other things. I said this way before the inflation topic was popular, and I'm never going to stop.
Investing is always a tricky one for me. Because they be like, invest. But they never say when you invest in certain things, you could potentially lose everything. It's a gamble. And I feel like when people say this, it's just like a one of those catchphrases. You need to invest early. Bro, you're not telling me nothing. What do I need to invest in early? I need some specifics. Because if you're telling me to invest in the stock market, when we was growing up, 9/11 happened. And one of my cousins had lost $80,000 in a week from her 401k. How do you lose $80,000 in a week? And you're not a wealthy person, and that's money that you sacrifice every single week. So it's how I'm going to interpret this and how I would like the narrative to change or be flexible and have a different type of connotation is diversify your portfolio early. Not invest early, diversify your portfolio early, meaning invest in yourself. That is the only thing you can invest in that is guaranteed growth. I don't know about trusting the stock market because I'm a little jaded, to be honest. I don't know about trusting the real estate market because I'm a little jaded, to be honest. It depends on, it's a game of chances. But one game of chance that you cannot lose is investing in yourself early. That's what I'm gonna say. That's the caveat I'm gonna leave with that. What are your thoughts?
I definitely agree. And investing in yourself is probably the best way to grow your value. In fact, it's the only way to grow your value, which makes you more valuable than you can quantify your new value with the world and all the wonderful opportunities there are out there. So for me, investing, I look at investing like I look at investing in companies sometimes similar to how people talk about, sports or fashion in the previous time, or celebrities, right? Like in terms of the idolatry, if you will, right? So for me, it made more sense to invest it in me as opposed to those other entities. So with sports, you can invest time and money and emotion, and then you're drained. So, and that can apply to, celebrities or, any type of reality TV shows, any of that foolishness as well. Same thing.
Investing in self, y'all. Like, I'm going to disagree with his number, whatever this number is, and say he missed it by a little bit. It's not invest your money or invest into stock options or whatever. It's investing in yourself, because nobody can take your knowledge away from you. But with that, investing in yourself, don't just learn things, learn how to apply them. Because you can be the smartest person in the room. You could be the smartest person in the world and have all these great ideas in your head. I'm sure all of us have had an idea for an invention, and then we see a commercial for it on TV and we like, dang, I should have made that. Why didn't I think of that? I thought of that. Why didn't I go through with it? Like, investing yourself in how to be active, how to have action behind those thoughts. Because if you're keeping your thoughts inside, you're holding back from the world. You're holding back the expansion, the creative expansion, and you could potentially be holding back helping people. And guess what? The way knowledge works is that you're not the only one who thought of it. There's millions of other people who thought about it, but you need to be action oriented. You need to figure out a way to get out of that box and believe in yourself. And that goes back to the last statement we had about self-talk and telling yourself you could do it. And honestly, one person that comes to mind is Kanye West. And he's so controversial at the moment, but you can still respect his hustle. He says it, he believes in himself more than anybody. And then he knows how to put that into action. Not to say you agree with everything he says, because just because somebody's good at something doesn't mean that they're, politically correct or you should share their ideals, but you can still respect their path. That's what I'm gonna say to that.
I just wonder sometimes, like, how miserable is your life that you have to focus on negative things, that you just can't enjoy things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. And I mean, at the same time, once you have created a certain income level, you probably do want to put it into the stock market at that point.
Or something, maybe not the stock market. Like, you really trust the stock market right now?
Not for small amounts.
Okay, let me just give my perspective. I respect your perspective, but in my building, when I leave work every day, there's a giant
the ticker.
There's a 70-inch TV that shows you red.
Yep.
Red. So if I was a person who invested millions of dollars into a stock and then they went down 300% today, they're negative, I just lost a whole bunch of money. Which is why I say diversify. And don't get too attached to money. Like, I feel like we have this, and I think this has been indoctrination, that money is just so important. Like, people kill people over $50. Like, money is just a symbol of freedom. So it's like, if you can cultivate freedom without a certain amount of money, that's the most important thing in my eyes. Like, money is built and made to be traded. It took the place of trading physical goods, and you just trade money now for services. So it's like,
well, in between that, you know, gold and silver, but yes.
Yeah. So it's like you can't put too much value into money and then think like, oh, I have to save it. Like you can never save your way to be a millionaire. Like it's no way. It's impossible. So I do agree in investing. But I do think that diversifying, and that means putting your money in different places. Like business owners, they have money in different places. Like if this business idea doesn't work, I got a backup plan. You know what I mean? Like, cause there's peaks and valleys. That's a constant. There's always gonna be an up. There's always gonna be a down. So depending on your timing, you could hit big, but depending on your timing, you could take a major loss. Like people jump off of buildings, like because they've had such a huge loss. So it's kind of like you gotta be willing to take that risk. Number one, willing to accept the good and the bad, and that's just being real with yourself, right? It's like going to a casino and gambling. It's a big dummy. It's a 50% chance you're gonna lose. Actually, let me rephrase that.
Unless you go there to lose the money as part of the thrill, and you can afford to lose it and not lose a sweat. Sure.
Let me rephrase that. It's not a 50% chance that you're gonna lose. It's either you're going to win or you're going to lose. So there's only two options in that sense. Now, you know, the odds are stacked against you, so it's not. So
it's over 50%.
It's over 50%, but
so that means it's a majority.
Yeah, but
that the house will win.
But you're either gonna win or you're gonna lose. So just as much as you're thinking you're gonna win, you should be also going in there like, dang, if I'm like, I can also lose an equal percentage of chance. So it's like, you know, you have to be real with yourself, and if you are a person who wants to make those big investments or them risks, do it. Like I'm all for it. But don't be mad at your decision. Just keep going. Like, if you lost 60K, 80K, be like, well, it's just money. It happens. Now, how am I going to bounce back from this? Because there was an aptitude test, and it was like, what is the biggest characteristic that is in people of success? And it was grit. That's it. All you need is grit to be good. That is the main ingredient for success, is to keep going despite your challenges. So when you can master that, you mastered the game. You master life. Because as long as you're not deceased, you're here and you still have the opportunity to keep going. And you just take your losses and you become optimistic about it. You learn from your losses and you just apply that to the next thing. And you just keep trying and keep going. But the minute that you wallow in that sorrow is the minute you done. Point blank, period. And that's the opposite of grit. That's giving up.
All right, time for 9 and 10. Wrap it up.
Practice being positive every single day. It isn't just something you can do overnight. You have to practice it. You have to learn not to complain. It is a process. Trust me, it will help you.
I agree with this 1,000%. I think probably one of the best things I ever decided to do in my personal life on earth. So I appreciate that I was able to discover the wisdom of thinking positively, consciously, make that a habit, and then wonderful things will come to you abundantly because of that.
Facts. I mean, he's just saying what we've been saying this whole time. And let me just say, I didn't remember all the 9 or the 10 facts, so we know.
Number 10, not taking risk is the greatest risk of all. That is the biggest thing that anyone can do to really set themselves back. Go talk to people in retirement homes. Go talk to people who have worked and aren't working anymore. The number one thing you'll hear from them is how many regrets they have, that they wish they would have taken that extra step. They wish they would have pursued that dream. If you don't take a risk, it's extremely risky.
The unknown is what keeps people up at night. What if I would have did this instead of that?
Analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis, but after the fact, like when the opportunity no longer presents itself. So like we're fairly young, you know. So it's like there becomes a point in your life where you don't have the resources to be flexible anymore, and at that point, and it's a mindset partially, but it's also because of obligations that you've created over the years, right? So it's a mixture of both. mindset mostly. I feel like a lot of times when you get older, and this is just from my observations, that people just kind of accept, which doesn't necessarily have to be correct, but they've accepted that, hey, I'm done. Like, I can't change. Like, I can't go back and change the past. In my future, I can't really do too much because I'm limited, either physically, mentally, whatever. So there's a point where that happens, the wall. I'm going to call it, because we use the wall for other things. But there is a wall at a certain age where you're like, dag, I'm here, and I didn't do what I told myself I wanted to do, and it's too late now. And I think that that's where the word regret comes from. It's kind of like if you've ever been into, some things just pass and you can't get them back. So, I mean, one thing I learned, and I told myself 10 years ago, was to step outside of my comfort zone and stop being so scared of trying things. And it helped me. It helped expand myself. Like, and I feel like if I would have missed out on some of those opportunities, I wouldn't be who I am today. Like, you know, you just kind of have to just get over that fear and just be afraid and still do it. Take risks. And not just like risks that are life-threatening or can potentially have a bad outcome. We're not saying like, you know, drive around with a loaded.
Okay, no.
A loaded car full of people in your back seat with no seatbelts. You got to take calculated risks that are risks for the good, not for risk for the better, not for the worse. Like, nobody's telling you to be a ride or die and take that risk.
See, I like to combine these, right? So one thing you said before is invest, right? So for someone who may not have the confidence to invest in themselves, that would be the risk worth taking. So it's really important to, of course, examine each one of these in isolation, but see how these overlap. And when you combine all of them and really apply that wisdom, it's a compounding effect.
I agree 1,000%. So that's the list, 1 to 10. That's our little spiel. Is that how you say the word? Spiel. I don't even know how to spell that. Google, how do you spell? Siri, how do you? Do you know how to spell it? I could guess. SPHELE. Spiel. Or is there a V in there?
I guess Google let us know.
Yeah, y'all. That's our little take on these top 10. Oh, I want to play one more thing for y'all. Can you play that video that's on my Instagram? It's on my story. Yo, did it disappear off my story? It's 50 Cent. Hold up. Is it on here? Did it not post? I'm going to find it. It must be in my archives. Hold up. Speaking of Uncle Nearest, they just liked my picture because I tagged them in it. Take risk, y'all. They was like, oh, word. We like that. Thanks for posting us.
Yes, sir.
Archive, okay. I could have sworn I posted this today. This is crazy. 50 Cent said this. Here it goes.
To make it.
Hold up. I'm going to start it over.
Some people are not built to make it. That might sound harsh, but all my experiences have taught me it's true. No matter how much support you provide them or love you show, their lowest habits are going to pull them right back to whatever struggles they come from. That's why one of the keys of being able to hustle smarter is learning how to identify these kinds of people before they drag you back down to the bottom with them. One of the first rules of lifeguarding is never get too close to a drowning person. Why? Because when you reach them just before they go under, that person is just going to jump on your back and cause you both to sink. You always want to try and keep something, a float, a board, or a piece of wood, between you and the person you're trying to rescue. If they get too close, punch them dead in the face and get them off you. Otherwise, you're both going to die. Some people are not built to make it.
So I say that to say, these pieces of advice are here. And, you know, when people drop gems, everybody not going to pick them up. And that's okay. Like, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has to learn from their own mistakes. Some people will never learn. Some people will try to drag you down with them. But our goal is to make sure that the information is here, that we're spreading the information, and, you know, each one teach one. And that you don't be a person that hoards the information, but you are a facilitator of learning. And so we hope that we've shared this resource with you to take a look at, and that something that we said today resonates with you. And if it didn't, that's cool. If some things did and some things didn't, that's also cool. But just know that the information's here. We're here for you. We hope you enjoyed this top 10 things we wish we would have learned 10 years ago. And thanks for joining us.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And, of course, share. And let us know where you're listening from. Where do you enjoy listening to the most, and when? Like, do you enjoy listening on the way to work, on your way home from work? Let us know. We want to make it a better show for your journey or whatever you're doing at the time. We're very curious.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.